As 2019 comes to a close, I wanted to take time in this video to look ahead. Look at some of the exciting upcoming mods on their way to Fallout 4, many of which will likely come out in 2020, but some of the large-scale ones maybe even a little bit longer. In this video, I want to take a particular moment to focus and look at some of the remake mods for Fallout 4, that being the projects recreating New Vegas and Fallout 3, and really reflect on some of the progress they've made in 2019, because it is substantial, but also what new teases have recently been shown, but even further, just an overall look at some of the other mods for Fallout 4 that we've recently gotten details for. And I would stick around for that part, as with several of these, they actually are pretty interesting. Not your traditional run-of-the-mill new weapon mod or something else, but rather something different. If you enjoy the content or just want to hear more about Fallout 4 modding in 2020, then you guys can leave a like or subscribe. But without further ado, let's take a look first at Fallout 4 New Vegas, that being, of course, the Fallout New Vegas remake mod. These guys have had a tremendous year, both in new and upcoming content teases, but also just in new content you can download and enjoy right now. Various members of this team released over 6 mods for Fallout 4, adding in some of those iconic and notable weapons, but also armors to feature along with them. In some of the teases all throughout the year, we saw many familiar faces make a return, showing some of the progress and work they've done on the mod itself, and definitely building up quite a bit of hype for encountering those characters again. But of course, also one of the most exciting parts of all of this are some of those notable and extremely memorable locations, and seeing them be recreated in a much better fashion with Fallout 4. This in particular really takes me back, as I think a lot of us have a lot of nostalgia associated with those places. But of course, even outside of that, there are some other weapons still a work in progress and potentially on the way for the future. But even just as of late, there have been teases around some of the new to Fallout 4 features that will be making a return from New Vegas. Things like the companion wheel, which really never got a good replacement for Fallout 4. I know though for many that was a pretty core part of Fallout New Vegas. What I would say was even more core, even more iconic, was the regular armor of the New California Republic infantry from Fallout New Vegas, as just recently they also teased some images of this. This is a pretty faithful recreation of that original armor. And when you see the two side by side, I think that becomes quite a bit more apparent, but also just how good it actually looks. We can even see some images of NCR troopers in Fallout 4's engine, and seeing this return of the NCR is one of those things that gets me extremely hyped. Whether it be battling against them or siding with them, I'm very excited to get to tackle this again with Fallout 4 New Vegas. And take this all together, you could really see how much progress they've done this year. Even just from the author behind this armor. In the past, he's worked on several very interesting and iconic weapons from those past games, and I think this mod project will have a lot to show or share in 2020. But of course, outside of that, there also is the Fallout 3 remake mod, that with Fallout 4 the Capital Wasteland project. These guys too had a tremendous year in 2019. In fact, they actually made their return in 2019. Early in the year, they announced that they would be resuming production on this mod. And throughout that year, we saw a ton in the way of teasers on future content, whether it be characters, locations, armors, all kinds of things that we could get excited and hyped for. They definitely treated us pretty well over that year, but even further, this mod in particular had a ton in the way of new content releases, as they formulated this entire roadmap and then released everything on it, which is pretty unprecedented. No other mod author or even mod team has really done anything like that. As a result, we got a ton of great content, and even outside of that, there were numerous other great releases for us to enjoy right now. But the new releases aren't stopping, as they also recently announced that coming early in 2020, there's going to be a new Capital Wasteland themed workshop pack also getting released. This involving a variety of assets and mostly furniture that was originally created to flesh out the Capital Wasteland for the remake mod, but of course also will just fit in pretty well in Fallout 4 as a standalone. Separate from this, we've also seen quite a bit in the way of new and additional teases for the mod itself, other aspects of it that are currently in development, both between weapons and even some cool armors out there. There's been some recent discussion around this, as there's been a bit of a splitting up point. Some members of this team splitting off to do something different, and I saw a lot of people writing this off as if now the mod project was dead. But some of the latest teases I think seem to indicate it is definitely far from that. They are still full steam ahead, and I'm really excited to see what we get from these guys also in 2020. And even again, just in early 2020, there'll definitely be some new content we can download. But as I mentioned earlier in this video, even outside of that, there is a little bit more I do want to show you. This next mod, I don't really know the scope of. I'm not totally sure what it's trying to achieve or what it will eventually achieve if released, but in effect, it is described as immersive camera tests. Change-ups on Fallout 4's vanilla camera system, how exactly the camera moves, camera motion, much of this involving custom-made animations, but not in the typical fashion like for a weapon or a sprint animation, but rather for people. And as you can see by some of the background footage, 1, it is extremely well done, but 2, it is really fascinating. It gets me really interested in what exactly this mod author is trying to achieve by this because it looks pretty cool. I'm immediately drawn in by some of this gameplay. The exact scope of this one is not clear, but it seems like it may have some kind of story component to it. It definitely looks pretty interesting. I'm excited to see more, and he has been very active, posting all of the clips I just showed you just in the past month, and even a couple of other fun ones. But then, a pretty cool one, and I feel like an often forgotten or overshadowed armor from Fallout New Vegas, we do have the stealth suit. This, not to be confused with the Chinese stealth suit from past Fallout games, was a unique piece of armor from the Old World Blues DLC. The suit itself featured an onboard computer that would narrate certain things, as well as automatically distribute medics and stim packs to you when low on health, and other little things like warning you of incoming combat situations. All around, it was a very unique, but also, I think, a pretty cool looking armor that seemingly is making a return in Fallout 4. We actually have a decent variety of teaser shots of this one, and it looks awesome, especially with all these various skins to go along with it. I think in general, it's a very Fallout-esque armor, fairly light in how much armor it does provide, but it looks like something that a lot of characters in this universe would wear, and I'm definitely excited to put it on my characters. And the fact that the Minuteman skin looks very much so like a Captain America armor will probably be pretty popular. But then next up, we do have another update to Flora. Flora's a mod I've shown you a few times in this series in the past, and more or less, it is a new environmental mod for Fallout 4. Although, it's going to be one that actually varies from region to region in the Commonwealth. Although in this image set, it is fairly uniform because it is taken from one specific location, the overall theme and idea behind this mod is that as you go from one place to another, there will be variations. Which actually isn't all that common among environmental mods. There's only a few that have recently started doing that. Either way, this definitely looks good. With this most recent update, the mod author does describe a few things. Firstly, that he's kind of restarted the mod starting from the ground up, but now with a more clear direction. But even further, that there should potentially be a beta version of this out before the new year, so something to definitely get excited for. Similar to this, but also separate, we do have Velt. This too is an environmental mod on its way to Fallout 4, but it has one pretty distinctive feature, and that is that from the ground up, it is built around the idea that it should be used with the mod Barren Wasteland. What Barren Wasteland does is remove every tree from Fallout 4. As a result of this, of course, as you can see, there is quite a bit more visibility than typical, but also this will be incorporating a variety of different landscapes, different types of grass in different areas, and all around it is a cool one. This mod author has been bringing several environmental mods to us as of late, and I do like this kind of mix-up. They're not just creating new or different trees or a different color of grass, there's often an additional twist, something else to make it interesting, and thus far a lot of these changes have been making his mods feel very unique and making them some of my favorite. But then we have some more updates on the Tommy pack. Not too long ago I showed you this, and it seems like what this mod author was working on was a variety of different Tommy guns for Fallout 4. Some in the traditional style, some of the Thompson style, but also some more modern variants of this. In some of the recent updates, we have seen more of that, some of the way of scopes and sights that will be supported with this, which is really cool. I love that concept. I love mods that do this, that have a almost through the ages style to them. One of my favorites is the MP40, which did something very similar. But with the icing on the cake of this one, just recently we had a tease, which seems to indicate they'll also have the laser RCW as a part of this mod, which I don't know how I didn't think of this earlier, but that fits in perfectly with the all-around theme and style as the ultimate futuristic version take on a Thompson. This recent revelation has quickly shot this up to one of my most anticipated mods, and already was pretty hyped for it. I think it looks awesome, but just the overall design of this RCW as well as some of the magazine design is really good. And hopefully I'll have some more updates to share on this one not too long, potentially with a release. Lever actions always seem to be this very sought after reload category in Fallout 4. For a long while, we just didn't have any lever action based mods. Everything was using just typical magazines. And even still, even though there's a few options there, both with rifles, shotguns, it isn't a super well fleshed out category, but one new addition that seems to be on the way that is going to be very unique is something that may be called deadlock. The naming on this one is not final, but as you can see, this is a very futuristic or almost Destiny looking lever action rifle on its way to Fallout 4. The design of this one definitely is familiar. It's a style you see used in many other games, but not something we see a lot of in Fallout 4. And for that reason, I could see it being very popular. Also coupling with the fact that it is a lever action, hopefully we do get some custom animations, or at least fitted ones to work with the existing lever action animations. But either way, it definitely looks cool, and again, we like some of that uniqueness coming to this game. Just recently for Fallout 4, I talked about the G3 family, mod adding in several weapons all in the G3 family. Well, it's getting some updates, including a new family member, that in the form of the HK11 LMG. Similar to some of the other mods in this pack, what it's going to do is add in a new weapon in this family, this time around an LMG, which will make this a very versatile mod, having an SMG, a rifle, a sniper rifle, and now an LMG to really complete it off. But also a separate planned update for this is a new Mars site for the mod. Something fairly simple, but something I think this mod could use. To begin with, it only had 2 sites, and the addition of a more reflex-focused one I think will make it quite a bit more popular. But then last but not least, we do have 50 Shades of Rust. This seems to be still a very early on work-in-progress mod, but I love this. It will seemingly be a retexture mod for the vaults of Fallout 4, at least some of the vaults, making them rustier, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, the vaults in Fallout 4 are most of the time pretty old. They've been sitting dormant for a while there. So them not being maintained, they would probably get pretty rusty. And although yes, there is the immersive appeal of this mod, separately, I think it just has the effect of making the vaults a bit spookier. It gives them a bit more character, makes them feel a little bit more unique compared to the rest of the Commonwealth, and I just overall really like these changes. I'm excited to see more outside of just these few screenshots we have thus far. But otherwise, with all of that being said, it's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I wanted to do something positive on this particular day. I hope all of you guys did have a good holiday. It's been a pretty great 2019. Over the next few days, we're going to see some videos recapping some of the great parts of 2019, showing you some of the great mod releases of this year and past that may get you interested in a new playthrough. But until then, as always again, I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.